volunteer for courts and judges, and that's something that you can do without getting credit. These requirements that I've just laid out for you do not apply if you're interviewing.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the resources that we have to help you with this process. And if you notice on the bottom of the yellow sheet, tiny print, I'm referring you to LCS Online. So if you look on LCS Online and you follow this practice series in clinics, there's a little area for the judicial externships. And we have listed there all of the courts where we've had students work or that are known to us in the general vicinity. And so that's a way to help you identify those courts. You can go to the court websites to find out the judges and the judicial assignments they have. Especially the Superior Court, things change pretty quickly. So usually in San Francisco, every January, they shuffle the deck and they reassign judges to different courtrooms. They actually just did that, announced new assignments for San Francisco's judges that will go into effect next Monday. So it's really best to go to the court's websites to figure out who's covering what docket, because you don't want to apply to someone saying, I want to work for you because you do family law, only to discover they were reassigned last year to unlawful detainers or some other issue. So that will help you stay up to date. Also, they come and go, right? Their terms have ended, they've retired, new judges have entered the court. So the court's websites are the best place to go for that up-to-date information about who is there and what cases do they preside over. We also will sometimes get job listings. So some of the externship opportunities will contact us to say, gee, we haven't heard from your students. Please remind them to apply. We'll put something in LCS Online. You should know that most judges do not advertise. At district court, it is just widely known and assumed that all of the judges take externs all of the semesters. So you should simply apply. Don't wait for them to advertise and solicit your application. And I would say that's true pretty much with most of the judges in the Bay Area. You should take the initiative and apply. We also have collected over the years evaluations from students who have worked at externships, and those are truly valuable because you really get to see from the student's perspective, what did they do there, what do they enjoy about it, what kind of feedback did they get, sort of get a sense from them. And in most cases, they've even given us their name and their contact information, and so you might follow up with that student, have a chat with that student to see what do they think about that experience. And sometimes you can refer to that in your cover letter. You're after chatting with your former extern, Tracy, I'm even more excited to seek this opportunity in your chambers, or based on the things she told me. If she's so inclined, she might even put a good word in for you with her former supervisor. And so I do encourage you to reach out to members of the GGU community to figure out, the inside scoop on some of these judges. We have profiles of just about all of the judges in California in our office, so I do encourage you to come in, read them, look at them, so you have some sense of the judge and their background, maybe their path to the bench, so that you might talk to them or comment on that in your letter. Oh, I know you were a DA before coming to the bench. That's what I'm interested in too, or you can reference that. Certainly, you'd want to know if they're our alumni. That'd be nice to reference. So read those judicial profiles. And then we also have a directory of all the courts in California. We get an updated one each month that lists every court. So if you're looking to do this out of the Bay Area, that's fine. There are courts throughout the state. There are courts throughout the country. If you're planning to do it for academic credit, we'd need to know pretty far in advance, and we'd have to work out some kind of arrangement for you to make up the classroom time. So typically we have students attend the first class session, which, as I mentioned, meets right before the semester starts. And then if they're not in town for the middle and end of the semester, they typically join us remotely through Skype or conference call or something of that sort. It's usually a 2-hour class. But those are arrangements we'd want to make in advance. But certainly if you plan to practice in another community, working for a judge in that community makes a lot of sense. And so we can help you with those logistics. Let's see, I would also recommend doing your own research, Lexis, Westlaw, look at the legal newspapers to see what is in the press about the judges you're interested in. That's certainly something you'd want to do before an interview, but you might find that useful in advance of applying, just to get a sense of that judge. There's also a program that the ABA runs, or at least they have in the past. It's called the Judicial Intern Opportunity Program. And these are opportunities, some are paid, some are for academic credit, to work at state and federal courts around the country. minority and financially disadvantaged students. They typically begin accepting applications in October, and last year they were due the first week of January. I keep checking their website. They have not put up the information yet for the 2012 program, but I do encourage you to keep an eye on their website, and I can give that to you after I'll put it on the board, just to keep an eye on that, because the fall is the window for that program. We've had some students do it through that program and really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. In terms of the actual application itself, timing, it's a bit different depending on where you're going. And I will, as we were mentioned, you do want to apply at least a semester in advance. For the 1Ls in the room, if you are in the regular program, summer would be your first opportunity. And for any of you looking at summer, I would say at the end of the semester, well, let me take that back. If you're an upper division student looking for summer, you might consider applying towards the end of this semester or at the very, very, very beginning of the spring semester. The federal court has said they only want to hear from 1Ls after your grades are submitted, your fall grades are submitted, or they want you to have grades, essentially. Sometimes they'll use like a February 1st start date as when you can begin to apply. And so as 1Ls, if that's you're looking for summer positions, you want to keep that time frame in mind, but know that those applications have to arrive before February 1st. For everybody else, that's less of an issue because you already have grades to submit, and so that timing doesn't apply. When you do apply, most of the courts will want a cover letter, a resume, a writing sample, a list of references, and a transcript. Unofficial transcript is fine. You can use that unofficial grade sheet that we have on LCS Online, but they will want that whole packet of materials. The federal court has set up an application on their website, and the website is on the yellow handout. When you look at the website on the left-hand side, there's a link for career opportunities, and if you click through, you'll see there's information about externship applications. Within that externship application, if you scroll to the very end of it, it will list all of the judges, and it will tell you whether that judge prefers you use this online form or whether that judge prefers you submit a paper application.
It'll also tell you which judges are actually looking, and please be mindful of that because a few judges are not looking for externs.
And every semester I get a very polite phone call from their chamber staff saying, we'll tell you once again, we're not hiring, but most of them do hire. I noticed Judge Zimmerman was still listed on the federal court website, and he has retired, so that's one that I would say the note says, yes.
Is this system in any way linked with Oscar?
No.
Or, okay.
It is not linked with Oscar, so I can just tell you up. Oscar is a system that the federal courts have set up for postgraduate judicial law clerks. That's a whole separate system. This is something that the local district court has set up to try to manage the flow of the applications. And even if they want you to submit something electronically, it's kind of a first step. If you're called in for an interview, they'll want you to bring all of your documents, or maybe even in advance of that, they might do a first cut based on the application you submit online, and then invite you to submit more documents. It tends to move along quickly. They'll bring you in for an interview. You'll hear from them pretty soon whether or not they're going to give you an offer or not. And so you should be very prepared. Make sure you have your suit ready, but be prepared for those interviews to happen pretty quickly and decisions to happen quickly. And I will tell you that the protocol typically is when a judge makes you an offer, you accept it. You're not like, well, you're okay, judge, but I really like your colleague down the hall better, and I'm holding out for that one. These are all wonderful opportunities to spend a semester. You will learn no matter where you are, and so I would accept an opportunity when it is offered, and then contact the other chambers and withdraw your application.
There's something a politic thing about applying for positions with judges that you just need to be mindful of. All of you are going to be appearing before judges, so in contrast to an employer where I think it may, in some cases, might be appropriate to say, thank you very much for the offer. I really appreciate it. Can I have some time to consider it? That's not something we recommend doing in the context of a judicial externship. So that's, again, perhaps something to be mindful of, especially before you.
And the other resource, I've referred to this a few times, come in and meet with us. So if you're not sure where to apply or what our experience is with Judge X or court-wide, come in and meet with us. Set up an appointment. We can walk you through and really tailor the process to you. We want to review your materials. If you're submitting something to the court, it has to be absolutely perfect. It cannot have any mistakes. And also the tone in your cover letter might be different. And some of you may struggle a bit with writing a cover letter to a judge or a court in a way you might not have when you're writing to an organization that shares your point of view, and it's a different kind of thing, because they're neutral. You can't say, Judge, I want to write, I'm applying to you because I believe you came up with the right result in that particular case. You can't say that. So we can work with you on your letters and the tone of that and make sure you're getting it right.
Many students struggle with that second paragraph of their cover letter in which they have to describe why they're passionate about working in the court system. I can tell you we see that a lot, so we can definitely help you with how to crafting that message. So please seek us out.
So we have one student in the room who's here to share with you her experience, one who's hopefully on his way stuck in traffic, and another who emailed us, just she couldn't be here today, but she loved doing her externship and wanted to share her experience in a few minutes.
Yeah, Angela Kelly is current third-year student who clerked for, extern for the U.S. District Court Magistrate Judge James Larson, who retired last year. And she had this to say: a judicial externship is an incredible opportunity. There is no substitute for working for a judge and seeing the court from that perspective. Many judicial externs get to work on exciting things, but even if you don't love the actual work that you are doing, just the experience of being there is like no other. It completely demystifies the courtroom and gives you remarkable insight into what to do and not to do in court. I can't recommend it highly enough. Working for a judge was by far the best externship I've had. If anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me and I'll prepare an email for this.
So now I'd like to introduce a student person. This is Tracy Whitmore, and Tracy worked for Alameda County Superior Court for Commissioner Elizabeth Hendrickson. And why don't you tell us about that experience?
Well, to begin with, I sat in this seminar when I was a 1L and heard the different descriptions of the courts, and I knew right away from my personal experience that I wasn't particularly one that wanted to do an appeals or superior court. I wanted to be in a courtroom where things were moving around and I got to see what the action was and what the judge actually did behind the scenes. So I kind of bided my time and found this particular judicial externship on the premise that I would get some really direct contact with the commissioner and with the clients and get to learn a lot of stuff. So I did select my judicial externship very carefully to get kind of what I wanted. And I chose family law because I'm interested in doing child law and family law, so I thought that would be a good way to see if it was really something I was interested in. And all I can say, it was an amazing experience. I know not everyone has had the same experience I did, but for me particularly, I just ended up with a commissioner who was very, very willing to teach me. She teaches here at Golden Gate, so she loves the students from here, and that's one thing is to, my recommendation is to always make sure you uphold the reputation of this university, because it not only benefits you, it'll benefit everybody who comes after you. Because people who came before me obviously did a good job and she was impressed. So she kind of hired me very quickly just on the reputation of GGU. And I got to do all kinds of things. She started me out very easily, prepping calendars, reading cases, kind of giving her an overview of what she was going to see in court each morning. She allowed me to sit in the attorney box and talk to the attorneys. I got to come in and watch. There's things that they do, they're called settlement conferences before they finish a divorce. They come in and kind of talk and negotiate. And so she let me come into chambers and watch those. I got to see her interview some of the kids of the divorcing parents. Just a really, really wide range of experiences. And as I became more familiar, she was a good supervisor and saw that I could handle more. And so she actually had me drafting divorce judgments and custody orders and child support orders, and actually talking to pro per clients and advising them on some of the particulars of what they needed to do in their case. I didn't really do any research, and I did ask for it because I took this as the class to get credits over the summer, and you're supposed to turn in a writing sample. And so I kind of wanted something to turn in, but I ended up turning in just some of the judgments and stuff that I wrote for her, and she just didn't have any research to give me. She did a couple times give me like a really thick case file and ask me to read it and come back and just give her my perspective on what I thought was going on, and we would sit and discuss, the different merits of the case, and really gave me an in-depth idea of like her thinking. So I really do feel, I know all the attorneys I know are very jealous